Thank you everyone for being here today. I admire your presentations, your meditations, your channelings, all of you. It's been really beautiful that you are here all to share what you are. The topic of this meeting is quite interesting, because it's about the regenesis of the Christos, of the Christ consciousness. And to be honest, I think these are times in which we mostly need it. I know that it is quite in synchronicity that this is the topic because we are in holiday season, but it's not just about the, let's say, idea of disconnecting from work and the 3D lifestyle and our routine. It's about connecting with that idea of Christmas, which is the Christ consciousness that we have been talking about. So I think these are times that are far more beyond, presence and taking time off. And, it's about celebrating. It's a spiritual celebration of the crystallization or solidification on the 3D levels of our consciousness or on our physical reality of that Christ consciousness. And, it's to achieve that level of enlightenment, it's personal to any of us. It's really unique. It never has a defined path. It doesn't have to look one way. We all have our own challenges when we come here in our physical reality. We all have our shadows. We all have our darkness and to work with. And I believe that the Christ consciousness teaches us that enlightenment, it's far more than the intellectual processes that we go in our, let's say, a spiritual evolution or spiritual awakening. What I learned from this connection to the Christ consciousness, personally, is that sometimes we're trying to achieve that level of enlightenment through the mind, through the intellect, through mental processes inside of us, which are needed, for the integrity of lighter aspect of our consciousness, because we are all doing this and these steps forward, and they are needed for the transition to higher densities, the reintegration of perception of those dimensions, those densities of consciousness that are more becoming integrated, when it comes to density, when it comes to our multidimensional facets. But what I learned from it, really, it's that it's much more about, let's say, leaving away the thoughts, the thinking, the processing, and stop thinking, stop, judging, stop comparing, disconnecting from the ego mentality without leaving completely caught in it. And that's something that we need to remind ourselves that, our new age has demonized almost the ego, and it's true that from the ego, all these shadows emanate, all these illusions of separations are projected, on our material reality. But the ego is just another tool that we are given so that we can have a physical experience and an exploration of consciousness of our true essence. It is needed, it is a tool, and tools are to be used. So I believe that it is not about antagonizing it. It is not about demonizing it. It is all about creating that perfect balance, that perfect, dissolving of the mentality that separates us from the Christ consciousness. If we look at it in a metaphysical perspective, if we achieve self-awareness, mostly focused in from the ego mentality, the lines that connects the all that is to the one that we are, it's pointing its orientation and direction towards us, as we are the center of it. That's the explanation of what is convergence. That's from the perspective of the ego mentality. Now, to achieve that Christ consciousness, that collective consciousness, what we have to do, it's to shift the orientation of those lines in time and space that connects the all with the one that we are, or individual nature, into a divergent, expression. It's a shift of perspective. It's a shift of orientation. We are always connected to all that is. We are always that expression of the all and the one. That what needs to shift, really, it's that perspective. It's how we experience that connection to the all. And how we do it mostly, it's through going through these processes of integration of our, shadow consciousness, darkness, because we all have shadow and darkness to work in. We are not fully, integrated, because otherwise it will be pointless to have a physical experience. So we need to start doing those processes, but at the same time to remember that enlightenment is most likely a shift when we let go a little bit of the too much thinking, too much processing, and dissolve, all thoughts, all, blocks of energy here, and shift to the heart space. We need to, let's say, lighten up. We need to take it easy and to remember that nothing of this is serious. It really isn't. We need to be really forgiven. We need to forgive ourselves even, because that's a problem. When we focus way too much in what we consider to be right or wrong, spiritual or not, our faults, or the faults on other, or, the darkness on other people, we get too caught off, in that conflict, in that drama. And, that creates within us these different dynamics, this kind of dynamics of comparison and judgment, that we're not realizing that they are judgment themselves. We are considering non-spiritual, when in fact, everything is spiritual. So even judging that, it's part of the, even considering, correcting people is not it's not integrating everything. We need to understand that spiritual ego, it's a really present thing, in this path of spiritual awakening. So we need to start, evaluating each other and comparing each other on whether we are more awake or not, whether we are enlightened or not. We need to let go of that process or that thinking on, what we are supposed to look like, what others are supposed to be doing, and be more accepting, be more, let's say, compassionate, and let go and forgive ourselves and forgive each other, and not take things so seriously, because again, it's not. This is all just a dream. This is just, again, we're here to play it, and we're here to learn from it too. But we consider it to be so serious. We forget about that important part of spirituality, which is joy. Joy is spirit. Everything is about spirit, about joy, about having fun. That's the most important, let's say, concept of enlightenment. Spirit, flowing, letting go of all these serious, narratives that we get ourselves inside, in our heads. And it is much more about tuning into the heart space and trusting God, because we are not yet fully reintegrated in perception with the all that is consciousness. These times ahead are really intense. We are navigating through really difficult, intense times of Earth, really conflicting. A lot of energies are being manifested and being given to us from the central sun of the galaxy, from our solar sun, you know, our own solar system star. And we're receiving tons of donuts, and all of them are just with one mission, which is to trigger anything which is not in alignment with our true essence, to be able to recognize them and put them back in balance. You know, it has that special mission, that special purpose. So we need to judge less whatever that comes to us. We need to accept everything that is as it is. And we need to understand everything as part of the process. We need to let go of that guilt or that, you know, thinking of right versus wrong. And we need to understand that we are not yet fully reintegrated in our perception with the all that is, you know, and we will never be, because that's the point of the exploration of consciousness as an individual, you know, consciousness, to experience the all that is, but from a perspective that is individual, so that we do not become everything and at the same time nothing at the same time. That's why God shattered itself into many different, let's say, fractals for that matter. So because our perception is not fully reintegrated with, for example, the collective consciousness of our nature, of our, let's say, planetary consciousness, we do never know the answer to what is the best thing for us to manifest. What is the best thing? We do not know the answer. Only God knows, only nature knows fully, because from that fully reintegrated perspective of all the pieces that makes itself, the collective, it all oversees all its aspects, you know, multifaceted aspects, and know how every piece of the puzzle fits perfectly to create that big picture of who we are here and what we are all, you know. So only it knows what's best for each and all of us, because it works in synchronicity, because it's aligned with that sacred, you know, geometry, that sacred numerology of nature, of the universe, you know, of the divine consciousness of Christ. So we need to trust more God. So these times ahead, I invite every one of you to let go of the guilt, to forgive you and forgive others, to not take things so seriously, and to remember Christ is inside all of us. We all have that potential, because we're all source energy. We are all the same source energy. And to trust God, you know, that everything that is given to you at any moment, it's for the best of you, because it knows and your ego doesn't. So it's time to trust.
Can I ask Marina to give us a Christmas message in Spanish? I've never heard you speak Spanish, Marina.
Deseo que todos en estas fiestas seáis capaces de abrir vuestro corazón e integrar la energía de Cristo y conectar con todo lo que es, perdonaros y abriros a un nuevo camino para el año que viene, que es 2022. Que os traiga muchos blessings.
Gracias. Thank you. Great. Because there's another resonance in your voice in Spanish, I think, you know, where you're
It's true.
grounded in something. Yeah.
Yes.